What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Monday. Hope your week is off to a great start. Unfortunately, ours isn't. Or is it? I mean, should we even care anymore at this point with the Denver Broncos, as they just got completely obliterated in a game in which they were only down 4 points at halftime? But so is the Denver Broncos, and so is life being a Denver Broncos fan. Stephen Priest with you here, Brandon Stoll on the other side, in the dark, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube, trying to figure out his camera once again. So while we wait for Brandon to do that, we're just gonna dissect this Broncos game. And as you can see by the YouTube headline, the Broncos are kaput. They're done, finito, no more left to give. It's time to blow this thing up. And for weeks, we've been trying to hop around and trying to talk about this Denver Broncos team and how things could work. Last week on Friday, we thought, could maybe they salvage their season if they get this win, and they weren't able to, obviously. And at this point, guys, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I'm just done talking about the Denver Broncos. I mean, I'm just done. What else can you say at this point? It's the same stuff, week after week, month after month, season after season, and it's time to officially blow this up. And I don't know how much longer we can avoid this. I think yesterday was rock bottom. I threw out the stat on Friday that if the Denver Broncos were to lose this week, which they did, that would be 4 straight years of them being 3-6 through 9 games. Let me repeat that. The Broncos are now on a 4-year streak through 9 games of being 3-6. So all this talk of, they're trending in the right direction, just be patient, things are getting better. We're now in year 4 of this. So when are we supposed to get better? Yesterday I was having an interaction on Twitter with a guy who likes to, talk Broncos with me, and he was saying, maybe we should try the veteran quarterback route.
Oh, God.
We've already tried that. We did that with Case Keenum. We did that with Joe Flacco. It didn't work. So we need to stop going down this route of Flex Seal, Band-Aid, Gorilla Glue, duct tape. At a certain point, the ship is going to sink. The holes can't be taped. They can't be plugged anymore. This ship is going down, and I am at the point, everybody must go. I know I explained a few times in prior pods that, maybe the best thing is just to keep everybody back for another year, let them all get a full year, because I didn't want just one guy to be fired, and then you take a new quarterback, for instance, and it's the same regime, and you're just going to mess it up. At this point, if the Denver Broncos do not get rid of everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody, maybe the only people I think could stay is Mike Munchak, because he actually turned around the offensive line. Hey, there's a head coaching candidate for you. If Vic Fangio wanted to stay as a defensive coordinator, I'd take that. But outside of that,
sure,
I'm not taking anybody back. I don't want Elway back. I don't want Fangio back as a head coach. I don't want Drew Lock back as my quarterback. That's about it. Get a new coaching staff. Tom McMahon, love you for the sound bites, but man, my guy, special teams it's essentially as bad as Brock Olivo when he was here. So at this point, it's time to clean house. I don't know what else to say anymore. I'm done with this team. I'm done with this organization as currently constructed. I'm tired of the product. I'm sick of how there's segments of the fans and media that continue to baby this team and coddle this team, and they absolutely refuse to take any criticism whatsoever. Even if it's at the detriment of them just blindly accepting bad play from this team. That's what they're willing to do at this point. And it's sad. It's unfortunate. But that's just what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been on the train of blow it up for the last, because they haven't, anyone that says that they already tried to blow it up, they have not blown it up at all. Not once. And that is why they've had the same record for the last 4 years at 3-6. That is the exact reason. They haven't blown it up. They've kept it the same. They're just putting different. They're putting different pieces in, but they're the same pieces, right? It's oh, let's try this defensive head coach instead. Oh, let's try this offensive coordinator instead. That essentially does the same thing. Let's put another bad special teams coach in. It's the same thing every time. So no, I mean, yeah, they've needed to blow it up for the last 4 years, and I'm telling you, if they would have blown it up 4 years ago and went the route that Arizona did, or went the route that even Miami has done, or I don't know, the Chargers, if they would have done it 4 years ago, they'd be a playoff team right now. And shoot, they might even be a contender depending on who they would have gotten. So no, it's over. But unfortunately, it's not over because they're not gonna do that. Elway's not gonna do that. If his name wasn't Elway, he would have been fired 3 years ago. I don't care that they won a Super Bowl 5 years ago. Congrats. It's been 5 years. Two players are on the team from that team. One of them's the kicker.
And I think too, if you're Joe Ellis and you actually care about this Broncos team, and you have Pat Bowlen's best interest in your mind, and as he says he does, I think at this point you need to get rid of everybody. Like at this point, there's no point to keep anyone. I mean, why? Now listen, the Broncos do have talent, and when I say blow up everything, get rid of everybody, I don't mean like completely everybody. I think you have great talent on the offense at the tight end position with Albert O and Noah Fant. I think you have great talent at the wide receiver position with Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. I think those are great spots. Melvin Gordon, I don't know if he'll be back next year, but Phillip Lindsay, he'll be at least back for one more year because he's an RFA, and I don't know if anybody, given his year and his injury history now, I don't know if anybody's going to, if the Broncos, say, place a second-round tender on him, I don't know if anybody's going to sign Phil to a contract knowing that they're going to have to give up a second-round pick. So you'll have at least Phillip Lindsay back. You could still theoretically turn this thing around pretty quick. Now, next year is going to be another down year, no matter how you spin it. Like that's just the fact of the matter. Broncos fans need to understand this. But if Denver does this now, right? If they blow this up now, completely start over now, we're talking maybe by 2022, right? Maybe by the start of that season, you could be competing again. If you do things right, if you draft good, if you find a good quarterback, like if you do things right, maybe by 22, 23 at the latest, I think you could probably be back being competitive. But listen, the Broncos aren't going to be competing for a division spot anytime soon. They're not going to win this division anytime soon. The Chiefs have a stranglehold on this thing. And if the Raiders continue to play like this, well, then they're a close second. The Chargers look to be elevating as well, despite their record. They're just a team that you can use the youth excuse on. A lot of people like to use the youth excuse for the Denver Broncos and injuries, but it's 4 years of this. So with the Chargers, they have a young quarterback, but they have talent around him. So it looks like they're elevating. So why are we continuing to play this game of be patient when it's been years of this, man? It's so frustrating. And a lot of people, they get on us, get on me for sure, for being negative. You never have anything positive to say about this team. How can you be positive about a team that continuously puts out a bad product year after year? Like, this Broncos offense has been garbage since 2015, since the Super Bowl year. Like, the last good offense we had, I think you could say, was 2014. The last great offense we had was in 2013. I mean, we're essentially back in the Tebow years, are we not? With a bad offense and a defense that tries to carry them and keep them in games? This is what it is, right? So, listen, they have to blow it up. I mean, Drew Lock, I don't know what to say anymore with this guy. I mean, everybody's going to defend him and, he needs more time. Does he need more time? Sure.
You see what Tua did yesterday?
Well, exactly. But what I have issues with is when people tell me, "Oh, Drew, we need to be patient with Drew. He needs more time." Okay, then stop selling me that you're in win now mode. If you're not in win now mode and we're going to go through growing pains, okay, let's wait it out.
No,
But
no, no, no,
you're
no.
telling me that
Even at
you're in win now
mm-mm.
mode, and you a team that is in win now mode cannot be patient with a young quarterback. That completely contradicts what you're trying to get done. So
I'm not gonna be this patient with a young quarterback. I'm sorry, because
well, he hasn't even had a full season under his belt. So I get where they want to be patient,
neither
but the
has Justin
mentality and
Herbert,
philosophy
neither
doesn't
has
match up.
Tua, neither has Joe Burrow,
Right.
and
Right.
they have all had way better games than even Daniel Jones is playing better than Drew Lock right now.
Yeah.
Every young quarterback in the league is playing better than Drew Lock. So I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry. Drew Lock has more weapons than most of these guys too. He has more weapons than Tua. He has more weapons than Justin Herbert. He has more weapons than Joe Burrow. He has more weapons than who did I just say? Daniel Jones. He threw 4 picks. I don't think any of the other rookies this year have thrown 3 picks.
Daniel Jones might, because he was struggling there for a little bit. He's had some pretty bad games.
I'll look, but I'm not sure if he might have thrown 3, but I doubt he's thrown 4. I don't know.
But
And
here's the thing with
and
Drew
if it
Lock,
was, it was
he's not getting visibly better. Like when you look
right.
at him on the field, and it's not like he's playing, it's not like he was saddled with Steelers defense, Ravens defense. He's going to play Miami's defense this week, and that's going to be a complete nightmare. Like he's making mistakes like this against an Atlanta defense and a Raiders defense, one that was really bad, and I think the Raiders are probably like middle of the pack defense. But like the point is, he's not playing like all-time defenses here. Like the Chiefs defense was even giving him fits, and the Chiefs were not the best defense either. I mean, they're a middle of the pack defense. So he's not getting better week over week. Like, it's one thing to support the guy. Like, we don't want him to fail. Of course, we root for the Broncos, so it's in our best interest that Drew Lock plays well. But people confuse being critiquing a guy as being you want him to fail. No, that's not the case. I'm just letting you know what I'm seeing. Like, if my job was in the spotlight of the NFL and you could put a camera on me at my job every day and you knew, you had an idea of what I was doing, and you saw that I was continuously making mistakes, whether it be on the board or getting my guys to go to break or how I put together the rundown, if you critiqued me and said, wow, Steven's not getting better, I would have no choice but to accept that and be like, yeah, I see what you're saying. And Drew Lock's just not getting better. Like, yes, what does Drew Lock do well? He has all the arm talent in the world. He can make all the throws. He has swagger, and he's tough as nails. We get that. No one's discounting any of that. But what is he bad at? Accuracy. His accuracy's, it's all over the place at times. His footwork, it sucks. It sucks. And it's not just us saying that. It's national guys like Dan Orlovsky. He's saying that too. So it's not just you work for the fans, so you have to criticize Drew Lock and you can never say anything nice. No, just watch the game. Just watch it. Watch game after game. It's the same thing. He throws off his back foot continuously. He misses guys deep continuously now. He had one to Jerry Jeudy yesterday, earlier in the game, that could have been a touchdown, and he overthrew him. Like, it's just sloppy technique. It's sloppy mechanics. He flees the pocket at times too soon. He doesn't trust his blockers, which the past 2 games, I don't blame him, because the offensive line has been playing awfully. And, it's just his decision making. I mean, he doesn't see the whole field. You can see it. There's times, like early in the game, I think it was an early 3rd down, and I think it was Trent Green on the call with, who was it, Harlan yesterday? Or I forgot who it was. But they even mentioned, like, as soon as the ball is snapped, he immediately throws to Royce Freeman on a 3rd down, and you get like a yard. And Trent's like, well, I don't know why Drew wasn't a little bit more patient there. And you can even see on plays, he's staring down guys, and he doesn't even look the other way. And it's like, once he has to look the other way or go to another read, his feet get unsettled, and he gets unsettled. So you can see this stuff. Like, you don't have to be a football expert. You don't have to be an ex-player. You don't have to be a film guy, tape guy. You don't have to see all that or know all that to see that he is not doing his job well right now and hasn't. He's continuously getting worse. Now, is that a product of the team around him not playing well? Sure, you can say that. The offensive line hasn't been playing great the past 2 games. Has his receivers dropped passes? Sure. We saw that in, what was it? Was it the New England game that they dropped all those passes? Or whatever game it was that there was like 2 or 3 touchdown passes that maybe were dropped? Yes. But at the same time, too, is it on? And Pat Shurmur, is he calling the best plays at the best times every time? No, he's not. But is it Pat Shurmur that's throwing off of his back foot? Is it Garrett Bowles that's throwing terrible interceptions? Is it Deshaun Hamilton that's not reading the whole field? No, it's Drew Lock. So, I mean, I just don't know what to say with this team anymore. How can you be positive about this team? How? Like, Bradley Chubb, where were you, guy? Like, where were you yesterday? He was a complete no-show. And, I mean, at a certain point, guys, it's going to get to a point where fans, and I'm already starting to see some of this on Twitter, fans are starting to not care anymore. There's segments of fans that don't care. They don't even want to watch anymore. And when you get to the point of your fans not caring, or fans that do care but show up to the games whenever that point is with bags over their head, like, are we really that naive to think as Broncos country that and the organization themselves to think that they're immune to the fans responding that way at a certain point? Because I don't. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw fans show up with bags over their head, or fans not care, or if the attendance dropped from, the sellout streak that they've had to, oh wow, we only got 50,000 this game. Oh man, we're only pulling 40 of the 75,000. Like, why would we be shocked at this point? You're going for another top 10 pick. And what is that going to be? 3-4 years in a row now? Listen, man, I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know what to say anymore. You're getting pummeled by your divisional opponents. You can't even be competitive in these games. It took everything in you to beat the Jets when you could have lost that game if it wasn't for a face mask. You barely beat a Patriots team, even though they got a good win last night. That was bad. Or, well, I shouldn't say bad. That was coming off of not practicing for 2 weeks. I mean, and you couldn't score a touchdown on that team. It's frustrating. And I don't know where to go with this team anymore. It's time to blow it up. That's just where I'm at.
Daniel Jones has thrown 2 interceptions twice. That's it. Joe Burrow has not thrown 2 interceptions in a game. Tua has not thrown an interception yet. Justin Herbert has had 1 game where he threw 2 picks. That was against Denver. Kyler Murray did have a 3-pick game against Detroit in week 3. And that's it.
I just don't know how you can stick up for this team or even Drew Lock anymore.
Drew Lock has arm strength. That's about it. He has arm strength. That's it. There's a reason why he was picked in the 2nd round. I get people wanting to be patient with the young quarterback, but being patient means that your young quarterback is maybe throwing a pick like pretty much every game, like Kyler Murray. All right, week 1, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Week 2, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Week 3, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Okay, gotta be patient, right? 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. 1-1, 2 touchdowns, 0. 3-1, 3-0, 1-1. So it's inconsistent, but it's not to the point where it's where Drew Lock is playing bad in the first 3 quarters, gets 3 touchdowns in the 4th, right, to save his stats, right? It's not having one of those games and then having a 1 touchdown, 4 pick game. Yeah, that's inconsistency, but that's bad play. You're going from solid to really, really bad. Whereas Kyler Murray, you're going from, okay, a meh game to, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. Great. back down to a 1-1. Okay, not great, but they won that game, so we'll take it. Then that goes from a 1-1 to a 2 touchdown 0 pick to a 3 touchdown 1 pick to a 3 touchdown 0 pick. And then you're back down to a 1-1. But hey, you won off of a crazy Hail Mary, so you're going to take that little bit of inconsistency. Justin Herbert, same thing. Started off with back-to-back 300 yards, but only had 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But then he responds to those games off of 3-1, 4-0, 3-0. Okay, then he has 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Okay, meh. But he responds to that game with throwing for 326, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Yesterday against one of the best defenses in the league, 187, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. It's not great, but he was 20 of 32. He was pretty accurate. They just couldn't get anything really going, so we'll see how he responds to that game. Joe Burrow, his first game, 193, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. He responds by that game by going for 3 touchdowns and no picks, 316 yards. The next game, 312, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. He has 3 straight meh games, okay? 1-1, 0-1, 0-1, okay? He responds by those 3 games by throwing for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. And then he's had back-to-back meh games but hasn't thrown a pick. These young quarterbacks, these actual rookies who hasn't had an offseason in their entire career, are playing way better than Drew Lock is. I don't want to hear about you got to be patient, because I am okay with being patient with those guys. Guys that are, yes, they're inconsistent, but they're not having 4-pick games. They're not having 80 yards in the first 3 quarters until the 4th. They're not responding to drop passes by throwing back-to-back picks and back-to-back drives. Remember, that was a whole deal against, who was that, New England? You had, what, 3 drop passes and touchdown for a touchdown, and then you respond by those by throwing 2 picks? That is not how it works. You respond from a pick by throwing a touchdown, just like all of these other rookies are doing. You are allowed to make mistakes. That is fine. But you cannot have 4 of them in a game. With 1 touchdown. If he had 4 touchdowns, 4 picks, okay. Fine. Now respond from that to where you go next week, you have maybe 2 touchdowns and a pick. Or 2 touchdowns and no picks. But who do they have next week?
The Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, good luck. He's going to have at least 2. And probably no touchdowns.
Yeah.
I guarantee you Denver has at least 4 turnovers against Miami. At least. They're going to get blown out again.
They'll be lucky to come out of that with just 2. I mean, I don't... Listen, Drew Lock's interception touchdown ratio is 7-10 this year. For his career, it's 14-13. It's not great.
You want to hear the other guys? Because
I'm sure it's better.
It's way better.
I don't even need to. Because it's...
Here's the thing, okay? Kyler Murray has thrown a pick. Or Kyler Murray... Let's see. Not Kyler. Who was it? Joe Burrow has thrown a pick in almost every game this year. But his touchdown to... he's thrown... Let's see. Except for 4 games. So over half his games, he's thrown a pick. But his touchdown to interception ratio is 12-5. Kyler Murray has thrown a pick in every game except for 3. His touchdown to interception rate is 20-12. Or no, sorry, 17-8. That was last year. 20-12 last year. 17-8 this year. I mean, Tua is playing great. Now, they don't put him in tough positions, and they're a really good team. But he's not making mistakes. He's not throwing off his back foot. He's accurate. Except for maybe the first game.
it's just there's certain things that you would expect a quarterback to get better at, and Drew Lock just isn't, for whatever reason, getting better at those things. And I think for sure part of this is that he hasn't been dealt the best situation. He didn't have an off season, but neither did those quarterbacks.
No.
Nope.
He had an off season last year.
He's got a new offensive coordinator. Well, so does Joe Burrow. So does Tua. I mean, I get it. The situation isn't perfect for Drew Lock.
You know what? Justin Herbert was thrown out there 5 minutes before the game. He didn't even know he was starting. He put up 300 yards
against the Kansas City Chiefs.
A touchdown and a pick.
Went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes.
Almost won.
Yeah. So,
listen, won.
Guys. And, we love our guy Cameron. But, he was telling me yesterday, I was interacting with him back and forth. And, Cameron's more positive than we are. And, I give him credit for that. I think he's just putting too much positivity in this team. But that's him. Every fan is different. Okay, whatever. But we were going back and forth, and he tweeted out, Drew Lock is confusing to figure out. But to me, like, if a player is special,
no,
it shouldn't be confusing to know.
That's Cam's way of saying he's not the guy.
Sure, and I can see that. And maybe we can have Cameron on later on in the week or down the road and ask him about that. But it's just, if when a player is special, like, you shouldn't be confused as if a player is special. If the player has the goods or not. Okay. Do you think the Chiefs were confused if Patrick Mahomes was the guy? Do you think the Chargers are confused?
Do you want to know?
Things can change. Things can change because we've seen it with Carson Wentz, right? Things can change. But were teams confused, with Lamar Jackson? Were the Ravens confused with him? Are we confused that Jerry Jeudy is a flat-out stud? No, we're not confused. Now, Locke has shown flashes, but it's the further removed we get away from those flashes, it seems like, wow, there's maybe like a handful, and that's about it, because there hasn't really been much since then. Everybody, when you say, well, what's Drew Lock's best game? You point to the Houston game. It's not, oh man, we have so many. We have this game, we have this game, we have this game. No, it's the Houston game, and he had a nice throw in this game. He had a nice deep ball to Tim Patrick yesterday. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Other than that, I mean, that doesn't tell me much. I don't know what to say anymore.
We've talked about quarterbacks coming out in the draft and how the Broncos can find a way to get one of them, right? We've talked about Trevor Lawrence. We've talked about Justin Fields. There's another one. He's a junior. He might not come out. I don't know if you've heard of him, though. It's Zach Wilson.
I don't think so. Wait, is he the one at BYU?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he has thrown his completion percentage is over 70 every game, except for one. He has thrown at least 3 touchdowns in every game except for last week, where he had just 2. He was 22-30, so. But yeah, no, it's him, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence. If you can get one of them,
and Trey Lance is up there too. I think he's North Dakota State.
Yeah, I haven't watched Trey Lance. I actually watched a couple of Zach Wilson's games, and he looks the part. He looks just as good as Justin Fields. He looks just as good as Trevor Lawrence. And by the way, Trevor Lawrence has had issues this year. When he was playing, he was a bit inaccurate with some NFL type of throws, which worries me a little bit. I don't know about his arm strength. Those throws out to the sideline, those are the ones that gets picked with him, and that's concerning. So I don't know. Again, he's gonna be the number 1 pick. He should be, but I think I'm worried about his arm strength. I really am. Justin Fields, not worried about that. Justin Fields isn't just a runner either. He doesn't actually run a lot at all. He's very accurate. And then this Zach Wilson kid is probably the most accurate out of all of them, and he has arm strength. I mean, and yeah, I haven't watched Trey Lance, so I don't know. But you got 4 solid quarterbacks that should probably be taken top 10 as long as all of them come out. Trevor
And
Lawrence can stay. Zach Wilson can stay. So we'll see.
See where Tankathon has the Broncos at this week in terms of what their odds are. So they were at 14, I believe, last week, and now they're at 11. So, I mean, the best thing for Denver right now is to lose games, people. Like, if I wasn't clear the past few weeks, like, the best thing for them is to lose games.
Well, I'm not sure. Even if they're I get, like, they're going to try and win. I don't know which games they win. I really don't. They could easily lose out.
I mean, other than the Chargers.
But see, here's the thing, though.
I don't know.
That's
and Carolina. I mean, they could win Carolina.
No. Carolina's been playing great. They got blown out at they got blown out at
3-7 though.
Yeah, but they got blown out at the end against Tampa Bay. But they were holding their own, and they held their own against Kansas City. So, and look, Carolina, they could have Christian McCaffrey back by then.
I don't know. They said he's supposed to miss multiple weeks. I saw that yesterday.
Well, when do they play them?
So it goes Dolphins, Chiefs, and then I believe New Orleans, then Carolina, I think.
I mean, he could be back.
I mean, maybe he's back. But
and Teddy Bridgewater's been playing well. Carolina's not an easy win. Carolina,
no, but I think that and the Chargers game are the two you could probably point to and say those are winnable. Other than that, everything else is going to be a loss. I don't see them beating the Raiders again. I don't see them beating the Chiefs. I don't see them beating New Orleans, even if Jameis has to play. I don't see them beating Miami. So, I mean, best case, you finish, well, for the Broncos, in their pride, you finish 5 and, 11?
Yeah.
For our hopes, I mean, they finished 3-13.
This mock draft has Trevor Lawrence going 1, Justin Fields going 2, Zach Wilson going number 5, and Trey Lance going number 12. So, you got four shots. If you can get into the top 10, you're going to get one of them.
Here's the thing, though. And side note real quick. You know what's crazy is Miami owns Houston's pick, and right now Houston's at number 6. So Miami could not only be a playoff team, but have a top 10 pick. Yeah. That's nuts.
Yeah, they have them taking Micah Parsons, linebacker, who I would, if the Broncos were to have, if they were to go the route of keeping everything the same and keeping Drew Lock, that's who I would want them to get if they could. Him.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Is if
him or Dylan Moses out of Alabama.
I don't want to draft a quarterback if everybody is back or if Elway's back. I don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to do it. If Elway's back, don't take a quarterback. Just build the team.
Well,
whatever.
I'll say this: if Elway's back but no one else is, and they go ahead and hire a offensive minded head coach, like a young someone out of college, or maybe Eric Bieniemy,
yeah.
or someone like that, I'd be okay with it, because and then you let that coach pick between Drew Lock or one of these 4 quarterbacks. But and if you do take a quarterback, you have to take him in the top 10. I don't want to do this whole thing of taking a quarterback in the end of the first or second round. So you have to take one of these 4 guys if you take quarterback. If not, they need a linebacker.
Yeah. And maybe we'll see, depending on maybe my feelings. But right now, initially, I would say if Elway's back, because here's the thing, his contract's going to run out. So what if you take a quarterback, his contract's gone, that quarterback is still here, and you get a GM who doesn't like that quarterback or doesn't want that quarterback or wants to bring in a new coach with a new philosophy? Then it's just pointless. Then you're just doing the runaround all over again. So that's why I would lean towards not even taking one. First off, they have to get to at least the top 5. I think they can do that, but if there's a chance that they don't.
Look, I don't know anything about Trey Lance, but they can get him in the top 10. They can get him at 10. They have Trey Lance going number 12 to Minnesota. They can get Trey Lance. I just don't know anything about him, so I don't know. So I think he's played 1 game this year because of issues with their team and COVID. So I don't know. I don't know anything about him. I think he's a junior as well. So look, all of these guys except for Justin Fields, I believe, can stay in college. So, I guarantee you one of them's going to stay, probably. So that means you're only going to have 3 shots, and then at that point you would probably need a top 5 pick, yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get close to it, and we'll see. As we get closer to the draft.
But I like Zach Wilson, man. I've watched a couple of games, and he's got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But that's where I'm standing right now. Gut feeling. I don't want them taking a quarterback. If everybody's back, I don't even want it. Obviously, things can change by the time the draft rolls around. But that's just kind of my initial feel on it, and I think that's all we can say about the Broncos right now. I mean, just expect them to continue to lose, people. And I mean, at least now that's what we have to hope. Because if they win, nothing comes from them winning games. And the whole, oh, you want them to lose, that builds a bad culture. Okay, well, check the last 4 years, pal. All right? It's been a bad culture for the last 4 years. Can't get any worse than it is right now. All right? So let's look big picture here. Let's stop trying to win games for our pride so we can brag that we won 2 more games. And, oh, we won 2 more, so now we're 5-11. Yeah, suck on that. Yeah, no one cares. No one cares. If you're not in the playoffs, no one cares. Okay? So the best thing for the Broncos to do right now is to lose games, to think big picture, and hopefully clear everything out and finally start over. Because this is just a sandcastle right now. For years it has been. And the tides keep coming in and causing holes in that sandcastle, and it's starting to sink. And we're trying to pull this thing together with our hands, and the sand is just falling through our hands right now. Stop trying to pull it together. Let it fall down. And maybe move back a little bit on the shore and build a better sandcastle there. Can we do that? Goodness gracious. All right, I'm done talking about the Broncos. Can we move on now?
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get to anything basketball, because there is some big news going on in the NBA. We got to make our pick for the Chicago-Minnesota game. And I'm just telling you, man, if you want to throw in the towel, settle out of court, we can do it. Because it wasn't a kind week to you again. I'm just saying. You've had 5 losses? I had 3. Depending on how this game goes, could be 6 losses.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like to settle out of court, we can do it.
Nope.
But now I'm even 2 games up now.
You'll blow the lead.
So I'm not blowing this one. Not blowing this one. All right, Minnesota versus Chicago, Monday Night Football. Dalvin Cook has been playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
Chicago's got a really good defense.
They got a really good offense. They got a really good rush defense. I wouldn't say they have a very good pass defense. They've given up like 30 points in multiple games this year.
So who do you trust in this one?
I don't
Kirk
trust
Cousins.
I don't
whoever's.
I don't trust Chicago's offense at all. But
I don't trust Kirk Cousins either.
But yeah, exactly. You can't really trust Kirk Cousins either. I don't know. I was looking at both these games earlier. Minnesota, they're coming off two good back-to-back wins. Obviously, having Dalvin Cook back, they didn't have Dalvin Cook against Atlanta, and I think he got hurt in that Seattle game. They lost by 1. Before that, they beat the Texans by 8. They lost to the Titans by 1. The Colts beat them pretty good, and then they lost to the Packers by 9. So, to be fair, other than the Colts game, they have been in every game, other than the Colts and Falcons, but they didn't have Dalvin Cook in the Falcons game, so I'm not going to really count that. So, they've played some pretty good teams, and they've hung in there with some really good teams. So, I don't know. This is a tough one. Chicago.
If you guess a tie, I'll give you 2 games. If you guess a tie correct, though.
No, there won't be a tie.
There might be.
I don't think so. I honestly think this could be this might not even be a close game. The Bears lost to the Titans 24-17. They lost to the Saints 26-23. The Rams 24-10. They beat the Panthers 23-16. They beat the Bucks 20-19. They lost to the Colts 19-11. I don't know. They've given up they've given up 20 plus in 5 straight weeks.
Who, the Bears?
Yeah.
Minnesota's a 3-point favorite on the road.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a tough one.
I think I'm gonna go Minnesota. Dalvin Cook is just playing too well right now.
I mean, look,
Justin Jefferson is a real good piece for them. Thielen.
they're gonna have to throw the ball, I think, though, because against the Bears against the Titans, they held Derrick Henry to 68 yards. Now, Dalvin Cook is a very different type of running back, so could his style crush the Bears? I don't know. Well, I guess, would you compare Dalvin Cook to more of an Alvin Kamara?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
because Kamara only had 67 yards too.
He's just one of those he's one of those new age running backs that is like a receiver. The Christian McCaffreys, Kamaras.
Well, here's the thing. So
the
Bears rush defense is really good. They held Kamara to only 67 yards, and they held Henry to 67, 68, whatever it was. So at that point, if they hold Dalvin Cook to 60, 70 yards, do you trust Kirk Cousins to make plays?
I don't. But then I go to the other side, and I don't trust the Bears' offense to make plays either. So
yeah, true. But Minnesota's defense isn't great. I mean, I guess they're solid. I don't know. They've given up 20 plus in every game. I don't know.
I'm going Minnesota here.
This is a tough one.
I mean, I could see it going either way, but I think I'm going to lean Minnesota here. These are two teams that I just don't. You have Denver Broncos of the East in the Bears, and funny they share the same color and they're exact same thing. Defense can keep your team in it, and the offense just can't do anything. But I'm going to go Minnesota here. I just trust them. I feel that they have more offensive weapons. Even if Dalvin Cook is taken out, you still have Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who's played well as a rookie. I think Kyle Rudolph is still there. I don't think he's hurt or anything, is he?
No, he's there.
So I mean, they have weapons. It's just Kirk Cousins isn't. He's not the best quarterback. So
yeah, and here's the thing: you can throw on the Bears. That's why they've kind of given up points. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick Minnesota as well. I think it kind of just fits. I don't know, something, and the Bears don't really they don't force a ton of turnovers. Like, they're a good defense, but I don't think they force a ton of turnovers. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but they don't seem to. I mean, they haven't had a pick in a few weeks. They'll probably get one tonight.
Yeah, knowing Minnesota, they'll probably get blown out tonight, and the Bears will put up 30. So, but either way, it's fine. I'm enjoying a nice, what is that, 16 game lead now. I'm inching close to 20. I mean, we're getting there. We've only got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 6 weeks left. Well, I mean, I guess the playoffs, but I mean,
yeah, a lot
I
can
guess
happen.
Still some time to make up games, but
you can blow
it's
it.
getting late early. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna hold on to this lead. You're not taking this from me. When Crumble is on the line, I have an extra bit of motivation. I dig deep on the weekends. I deep dive. I study tape. I look at the film. I'm breaking down teams. That's what I'm doing. Crumble's on the line. I go the extra mile. There's some crazy stuff happening in the NBA this week. And obviously we have the draft on Wednesday. Today is the official start of, I guess, the offseason in terms of teams can make trades and do stuff like that. And then we got free agency starting 2 days after the draft on Friday. So it's a crazy time. And just like we see every year, the NBA is the gift that keeps giving once it comes to the offseason. And the team that's probably been hit the most and destroyed the most, or is going to be destroyed the most, is the Houston Rockets. Stephen A. reported last week that James Harden and Russell Westbrook, they just don't want to play with each other anymore. Russell Westbrook doesn't want to play off ball, and James Harden just doesn't want to play with Russell Westbrook, probably because he can't shoot. So, I mean, that team's going to be hit hard. And I guess it came out today, too, as well. James Harden has asked for a trade. He wants out. And the team that's atop his list is the Brooklyn Nets. And they've also have interest, I guess, in Serge Ibaka. They're trying to create a mini reunion there of the OKC team without Russell Westbrook, apparently, though. So it's getting crazy. And I just don't, man. I mean, talk about the Rockets. They are, and you know what's funny too about this whole Brooklyn thing? Who's in Brooklyn that besides like Kevin that has a connection to James Harden? Do you know?
Steve Nash. Oh, Mike D'Antoni.
Mike D'Antoni. Boom. There you go. So, and the other team that's been rumored to want James Harden, Philadelphia 76ers. Well, who's in Philly now? It's Daryl Morey, who was the GM. So, for the Houston Rockets, it just looks like a team that it might just be a fire sale for them. It might be time to just blow it up.
Well, here's the thing though, and look, James Harden is a great player. He is.
I know that pained you to say that.
He's a great player, but there's a reason why so many players want to leave him after a year. There's a reason. Now here's here's the thing. I don't think Houston has done a good job of building around James Harden. What I would have done is I would have found a way to get a center who doesn't need the ball, who can get alley-oops, right, from James Harden.
Well, they had that in Clint Capella, and they traded him.
No. Clint Capella is a different type. Joel Embiid. If he goes to Philly, Philly has to make sure that Embiid is not in that trade. They can give up Ben Simmons, but I would pair James Harden with Embiid.
Well, Embiid needs the ball to be productive.
He needs the ball, but he doesn't need to handle the ball all the time. He's a center.
No. But yeah, well, he doesn't do that.
So for example, exactly. So James Harden wouldn't work with Jokic. He wouldn't necessarily. He doesn't work with other.
I think he'd flourish with Jokic.
I don't. James Harden wants the ball in his hand constantly, right? So it doesn't really. You need to have him as the point guard. You need to put him. You need to put shooters around him who don't necessarily handle the ball, and you need a center that can, like Embiid, that can bully in the paint, is a good post player, but can also step out and shoot a little bit outside as well. So I think he works with an Embiid. I think he works, actually, Miami was another team I heard. I think he would work with a Jimmy Butler and a Bam Adebayo, right? Because Bam doesn't need to handle the ball. Bam's a good passer. He's a good rim protector, good defender, and he's good in the post. Jimmy Butler doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time. And he's a great defender alongside of a guy like James Harden. So that works. With the Brooklyn Nets, I am a bit concerned because I think that can get messy. But KD has proven that he doesn't need the ball all the time. He's willing to give it up, right? Kyrie might be hurt half the season, so it might not matter. So it could work, but I don't love it because that gives you three guys that all need the ball, and that's not Golden State. That's not a Steph and Clay that are willing to pass the ball off all the time and be unselfish, right? That's not Kyrie. And KD actually hurt that part of Steph and Clay's game when they were in Golden State. Remember the stat. When KD was out, they were they were fine. They won most of those games. When Steph was out and KD was in, it was opposite. There's a reason. So I wouldn't put another ball handler. I don't know why Houston has done this so much, where you put another ball handler, another star ball handler next to James Harden, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. Like they got decently far, but it doesn't work. And then at the end of the day, they wanted to leave. So I don't know. Look, they tried to put Dwight Howard with James Harden, but Dwight Howard by that point was going off the rails. So I would like to see him in Philly. I think it would make sense to see him in Philly or Miami. The Nets are interesting, but even I think it's going to cause a lot of the same problems. But they're in the East. I think they can get to the finals. I just think it's going to cause some of the issues that we've seen with James Harden in the past. But I think if he goes to Miami with a leader like Jimmy Butler and a center like Bam, they would make it to the finals.
There's such a thing as having too much talent,
right?
But
Golden State worked because Steph and Clay were so unselfish.
Right. Right. And well, and they don't. Those aren't guys that need the ball. I've said this plenty of times.
Yeah,
I think Steph is at his best when he's off ball.
Yeah, he's the best off-ball player in the league.
Like that I've ever seen. Like Rip Hamilton was really good off ball. There's been other great off ball players, but like Steph is like the thing that makes him so great is he can read screens really well, and he never stops moving. He's constantly
James Harden
moving.
would work great in Golden State.
Right. And that's what makes Steph great. With Brooklyn, now, yes, would the Nets be bad if they got Harden? No, obviously not. They'd win a ton of games.
Right.
But there's so many mouths to feed there. They would be so top heavy, first and foremost, because you'd have to give up probably like Dinwiddie, LeVert, Jared Allen. Like it would be such a top heavy team with all those contracts and trying to keep those guys because it's 3 max level players. And with Kyrie, I just don't know how.
That's the one I'm worried about. I think Durant and Harden could work. I don't know if Kyrie and Harden can work.
Like we know Kyrie has this weird thing where he wants to be the man, and he called out, in a shady way, LeBron, and then he threw his teammates in Boston under the bus, and he's like, oh, but I like KD, so this will work. And now you bring James Harden into the fold. Who's going to be the third wheel on that? Who's going to be the one that's going to be like, I'll take the back seat, guys. I'll be the Chris Bosh. I'll average 18 to 20. It'll be me. You think Kyrie's going to do that? Because he had an issue taking a backseat to LeBron in Cleveland, as a young player, apparently. He didn't want to do that in Boston. Look, he wanted to be the man.
It's difficult to play with James Harden because you do not have the ball in your hands very much. And look, KD is used to it. And KD is proven, and credit to him, he has proved that he doesn't need the ball all the time, and he's okay with taking a step back a little bit.
But when you get to that team, whose team is it? Like, when do they have that moment where it's established?
Right.
Because
here's
Miami,
the thing: if I were the Nets, and I know this is gonna, KD might be mad, and you go to him first, and maybe you ask him, I put Kyrie in the trade for James Harden.
Ooh, that's shady.
And you keep LeVert or Jared Allen, one of the two, or even both. That's what I do. I go to KD though and ask him. But then again, he signed a 4-year deal, but that's what I do because I don't think it can work with Kyrie and James Harden together.
Well, I don't think so either, and that's why I'm saying, like in Miami, and Dwayne Wade has spoken about this. There was a point where they were kind of like in this limbo of, do I take the last shot? Do you take the last shot? Kind of deferring, and it cost them some games. And at a certain point, Dwayne had to go to LeBron and say, this is yours.
Yeah. Well, it cost him in the NBA Finals.
Right. And so when would that point happen? And who's going to be like, I just don't see any of those guys saying I'm deferring. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're all at a point in their career. Maybe James is just so hungry for a title, he doesn't care anymore, and he'll take the third wheel. I just don't see that happen with his play style.
I don't see that.
Maybe Kyrie's at that point. I just don't see that, despite what he likes to portray on the outside.
KD is willing. He's the only one because he's proved it.
I don't think so.
He's proved it. He's proved
it. It should be his team. That's me, because if all 3 of those guys paired up, Kevin Durant would be the best player on that team if, of course, he's fully healthy. It should be his team, and then it should be James Harden, and then it should be Kyrie. That's how I would establish the hierarchy.
Well, yeah, but I'm like I said, I'm okay with James Harden being paired with KD because I know KD will be willing to take a step back at times. That would work. So I think it would work. I don't get it why Houston has put point guards alongside James Harden, because James Harden is a point guard.
Well, I think James Harden can work off ball. So and that's why I think Russell wants to. I think that's why he was fine with Chris.
No. James Harden doesn't. The problem is, he could work off ball, but he doesn't want to work off ball. James Harden wants to be the point guard. There's a reason why he gets almost 10 assists a game.
I think he's fine working off ball. I don't think that's the issue. And like Russell Westbrook, he just wants the ball. James Harden isn't asking for, doesn't want to play with Russell anymore because, he wants the ball. I think it's because, he wants a guy who can actually be more effective instead of just driving to the rim 24/7, and can hit a shot every now and then.
Yeah, but it didn't work with Chris Paul. There's a reason why they traded Chris Paul.
Well, I think that's because it was a mentality thing. I think that's because Chris Paul is one of those dogs that is all about winning and putting in the extra work, and James Harden's not. I don't think it had anything to do
Well,
with
that
he had the
and
ball
that's a
more.
concerning thing too.
Well, exactly. But I think that was more of a mentality off court thing rather than a on court thing. That's just me. So I think James Harden would be great with Kevin Durant. I think Miami, like you laid out, would be a great fit for him. I think, Philly, he'd be fine. I would be hesitant about Brooklyn if they kept all three of those guys.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say that they wouldn't win games. They'd probably even make it to a finals. But I could definitely see that ending very badly at a certain point.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if we get a year into that, 2 seasons into that, and there's already, reports leaking out that, this guy's unhappy with his role and he wants out and all this stuff. I just see that. And I think it would mainly come from Kyrie, because Kyrie seems like one of those guys who just seems a little bit shady when things aren't going his way. And maybe I have this wrong, but that's just what it seems like from what we've gathered, from where he's been place to place, how teams have done since he's left. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just, if I was James Harden, I'd be hesitant about that one, but who knows? Maybe they work it out and they find a way to get it going. But like we said, the draft is on Wednesday. Trades could happen today. And I was thinking we should do on Wednesday, we could do a pre-draft special for the Nuggets, if you're good with that, just to kind of break down that. Obviously Friday we'll break down, what happened after the draft and, preview any free agent moves that the Nuggets can make, or hopefully that they'll make by then, because that's when it'll open. It'll officially, teams can officially sign players on the 22nd, I believe, but free agency will open on the 20th. So it's going to be a fun week for NBA basketball, and things are already getting kicked off with these rumors of James Harden and him wanting out. Obviously, Russell Westbrook wants out. I just saw that Michael Jordan wants Russell Westbrook on the Hornets, which of course doesn't shock me. I mean, he loves Russell's mentality. Like, that was, Kobe and MJ's guy, right? And AI's guy, the Russell Westbrook, he's a dog. And I like Russ, but man, we're getting to a point in his career where he's just not an effective player. Like, he's still a really good player, but his shot has just completely just gone away from him. And once his athleticism starts to slowly drain, which I think it already has, because I mean, he's 32, I think 31, 32. At a certain point, I mean, if he can't shoot, how much longer can he be effective in this league?
Right.
So, I mean, if I was the Hornets, I'd want to stay away from that. But that's just me. So we'll see how this week plays out. A lot of rumors, a lot of crazy stuff going on. It's exciting. NBA offseason is here. And then a couple weeks from now, we'll have training camp. Nuggets will be back in full swing. And then December 22nd. I mean, just about
so
a little
crazy.
over a month from now.
I can't believe the season's actually gonna. I'm shocked that they decided. It makes sense because you want to get the 72 games in for money, and you want to end before the Olympics. So it makes sense. But man, I'm surprised that the players actually did it. But then again, I mean, I guess most of the players have had some time off, so. It's been almost a year since like Steph and Clay have played.
Some teams are going to have like 7 months of an off season. I think it is 7 or 8 months. And, obviously other teams, like I think the Lakers and Heat will have
72
like
days.
3 weeks.
The
Nuggets
3
will have
months.
a little bit, or not 3 weeks, 3 months.
Yeah.
And then the Nuggets will have a little bit longer than that. So
yeah, it would be the shortest off season in out of the 4 major sports history.
Yep. But I love it. We're getting right back into Nuggets basketball, and it's going to be an interesting time. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know if the Nuggets should just stand pat and we'll
I don't like the Drew. If they can get Drew Holiday without giving up Bol or MPJ, I'm okay with it. But I
just don't think that
I
happens.
don't like it, man. I don't like it.
I'm leaning more towards, and I think we've talked about this more, I think I'm leaning more towards being patient just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's just me. But, I mean, who knows if the Nuggets have had their patience, meter run out. Maybe they want to go for it.
I'll give you a scenario. What if in a couple days we hear all of a sudden the Denver Nuggets are trying to trade for James Harden?
I'd love it. Give up MPJ.
And Bol.
Yeah. Now that's one I'd be willing to give up MPJ for.
You wouldn't get Jeremy Grant back.
Maybe it's a situation where it's a sign and trade. You sign Grant, but you trade him. So maybe you give up Jeremy Grant, you give up MPJ, and maybe Bol as well.
Monte Morris.
Sure. Well, I think that would get it done right there. Jeremy Grant, you get a great wing defender, you get MPJ, and you get Bol. Maybe you throw in a pick, maybe like a second round pick. Maybe Monte, sure. But that's one I would trade. That I think right there.
Is that better than getting Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie? That's the thing. That's the thing. You got to beat them.
In the short term, no. But I think in the long term, yes. I think it would be. Because if you're Houston, you get a piece in MPJ who could possibly be a top 5 player in the league someday. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like, everybody saw what MPJ can do.
It was what they did with James Harden.
That's enticing. And then you get a guy in Jeremy Grant who is a great wing defender and a great spot-up shooter and an athlete. And then you get Bol as well, who's a heck of it. Like, that's a team you could – I think that would make – if I was a Houston fan, I would get excited about that deal. I'm losing James Harden, yes, but, hey, we get MPJ, we get Bol, and we get Jeremy Grant and maybe like a Monte or – like, that could actually make them a respectable team. That could make them a team that competes for like a 6 through 8 seed still. And then you get better from that. I do it. And I know a lot of, like, I love MPJ. I would love to have him. But if you're telling me I could get James Harden on this team with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray?
So you think James Harden would work with Jokic and Jamal?
I think he would work excellent with those two. Because what do we want with Jamal? We want somebody else who can handle
the ball. Yeah,
that's what
Jamal is great off ball, and he's willing.
What can and so can Jokic.
And Jokic is
so like.
Yeah,
I mean that would be perfect.
Yeah, I think it works. I think
that would work excellent. Those guys would work together. You have two guys who can play make like nobody's business.
Can you imagine the pick and roll with James Harden and Jokic?
Sure. That's what I'm saying. You have two of the best.
But again, here's the only thing. Okay, in the playoffs, in the bubble, we saw issues with Jamal and Jokic not getting MPJ involved because they played their two-man game so much. Mm-hmm. Would there be issues with integrating James Harden with them two? Because the chemistry with those two is so high that it could just by default kind of hurt any third piece that comes in to play.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. That two-man chemistry I don't think would ever leave. But what is the goal here? Do we want to win a championship? Because if you want to win a championship, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Mm-hmm. And that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. And if James Harden came in, listen, we know Nikola Jokic, like, he has the talent to be the man, but I think Nikola is desperately wanting Jamal or MPJ to take this from him. Like, he wants to hand that off.
Yeah.
Now, Jamal, I don't know if Jamal's would give it up, be willing to, but I think if James Harden came, I think he would love to play with that guy.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have that problem of having Harden, Jokic, and Jamal and figuring out late game situations rather than having what we have now and being, the Nuggets are a playoff team. They're a Western Conference final caliber team. That takes you to a championship contender team right there.
All right.
Immediately.
Look, I would not be upset. I would be more than happy with it.
I would do that trade 100%. Now, I don't know if James would want to come here, but you're telling me I get to play with an emerging star in Jamal Murray, and I get to play with a two-time All-Star, and in my opinion, already a guy who's on a Hall of Fame track in Nikola Jokic? Yeah, I'll play with that. I don't have to have the ball in my hands. They can play make for me. How do you play those guys?
No.
How do you play those guys?
Can you beat the Lakers?
Oh yeah, I think you could beat the Lakers with that lineup. Yeah, I think so.
You need to add a big.
Yeah, but I think you could. I think you could beat that. I think you could beat that Lakers team with Harden, with Jokic, and with Jamal Murray. The shot making ability of all of those guys, the playmaking ability of really all three of those guys.
Yeah, they can work. They can work.
I'm gonna have to
I,
message
I
our
don't
man
know
Jake.
I don't know
See
if Denver would be willing to do that. Again, I think Denver's going to stay pat, honestly. I think they're going to bring back the same group.
I don't know, but I would love that. Listen, the Nuggets, if they want to win a championship, they're gonna have to be aggressive because other teams are in win now mode.
What's James Harden's contract though? How because like you said though, would he want to come to Denver? Would it be a 1-year rental? Because if you get a championship off that 1-year rental and he leaves,
It's worth it.
It's worth it. But you better win.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Toronto's over here crying because Kawhi Leonard left, or are they happy
No,
that they got a championship?
they got to the conference finals, so the year after. So I think
So
they're fine.
James is actually a UFA in 2023. So if you traded him here,
You get 2 years.
okay, you get 2 years with him.
Okay.
And he'll be 32 and 33 in those seasons respectively. He'll be a free agent at 34. He's gonna make a lot of money. Okay, he's gonna be 41 million next year, and he's gonna be 40. Hold on. So
That's the other thing. Are the
2021,
Nuggets?
So that's this year.
Are the Nuggets
so yeah, he'd be 44
willing?
and then 47 million.
They'd have to go into the luxury tax too, and that's an issue with Denver. They've done it before, but I don't know if they're
But
going to
if
do
you're
it.
Kroenke and Tim Connolly comes to you and says, "Listen, we could get this
The
deal done.
the
You're gonna have
Kroenkes
to pay
are
more money."
very tight with money though. I don't know. I don't.
But I think they know what they have, and I think they know they're close. And this is the type of move that takes you over. It's a risk, sure, but sometimes to do big things, you have to take risks.
They went and got AI, and I think that they might have brought them into the tax because they were paying Melo, AI, Kenyon Martin. They had to have been in the tax, I would assume. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they're willing to go in the tax. I feel like they have before, but I don't remember.
Well, you know what? Technically, it would be a 1-year rental, depending on how James views it, because he has a player option in 22-23.
Okay, well, he would decline that to get more money.
Right.
So, either way. So, yeah, it'd be a 1-year rental. I mean...
So is that worth it from Denver's perspective?
And here's the thing. If you
MPJ,
win... If you do win, do you think James Harden stays anyways? It's not like he has a tie to anywhere, like Kawhi did.
Sure. I mean, if his goal is to win championship, sure.
And if he likes playing here, I mean, yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
so
sure. But I mean, if he wants the most money, then no.
Because like Toronto knew Kawhi was gonna leave because he had a tie to LA, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if James Harden has any other ties unless he just wants to go play with KD. But then again, he put Miami and he put Philly on his list, apparently. Or are those teams just interested? What was it? Was it Harden wanted to go to those teams, or?
I think it's both. I think he has interest and they have interest in him because there's connections. Listen, James Harden is from California, so
the fact that he didn't put an LA team.
Yeah.
He could have put the Clippers, and the Clippers could have, tried to get rid of Paul George. Yeah. By the way, that would work too.
That tells me he doesn't care where he plays. I'm sure it matters a little bit, but if he wants to win a championship, okay, what's the best situation for James? Miami, play with Jimmy, you play with Bam. That's a really good one. You're in the East, so you're probably guaranteed to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals in that. Okay, you go to Brooklyn. It's going to be a very top-heavy team. Well, all these teams would be top-heavy. But you play with KD and Kyrie. You're probably guaranteed to make the finals there in the East. But that could be a dicey situation. A lot of ball handlers there. A lot of people that need the ball and don't. That's just ISO-heavy offense right there. Okay, so there's that one. You go to Philly. You play with Joel Embiid. That's really the only one there. And Tobias Harris. I don't know if they'd keep him in that trade. But you get him. You're with Daryl Morey, though. Okay, go to the Nuggets. You get Jokic, who can play make for you, who's proven to knock down clutch shots. Jamal Murray, who's one of the uprising, stars in this game, who can score. You don't have to, have that load by yourself. Can also play make. I mean, James could literally sit in the corner while they play 2-man game, and if they leak off of him, you're throwing it out to James Harden for a corner three. Like, I don't know. I think for me, it would be Miami or the Nuggets. That would be the two that stands out to me.
Yeah.
That's just me, though. That's just me. But that's a trade I'd be willing to do. And I hope that's a trade that the Denver Nuggets are thinking about. I hope they're calling the Houston Rockets and seeing what it would take. Because I think that's one that would take them over the top. Yes, it's a risk because it could be a 1-year rental. But you know what? If they do that and they fail to win a championship, at least I'll say, you know what? You guys tried, and I can respect that.
Yeah, and worst case scenario,
continuity and waiting and hoping things pan out our way, because then you missed a window.
Right. And worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. James Harden leaves. You still have Jamal and Jokic, and you go find a third piece. Yeah, it sucks you lost MPJ, but
that would suck.
But here's the thing: we still don't know about MPJ. We really don't. His defense really struggled. We don't know. Some of his attitude in certain situations has been weird.
Injury history is still
there. So look, if you do go get James Harden, it doesn't work out. You did lose MPJ, but you will have technically you could work a sign and trade with James Harden with another star.
I'd love it.
You can go get someone else.
I'd love it. I'm just saying. That'd be me. I'd do it. If the Houston Rockets said, we want MPJ, Bol, Jeremy Grant, take them. Go on ahead. You have them. What else you want? You want Monte? You want Gary? We'll throw in Gary as an added luxury. Take Gary too.
Would they be like, we want Jamal?
That's where I'd say no. Well.
By the way, you'd have to trade Will, money reasons.
Okay. Oh man. Okay.
You know what? You'd have to give up.
If I'm trading Jamal, I want to keep MPJ. I'm not trading both of those guys. That's the only thing. I need to keep one of them. If I have to trade Jamal, if it's Jamal, Will, and a first round pick and
So I jumped into 2K to see the money. So because James Harden is a lot of money, so you would have to. Well, I guess you would have to do the sign and trade with Grant, right? So I guess that's one of them. So I guess you don't need to trade Will and Gary. So which one do you want to keep? Well,
I'd keep Will.
Okay. That still doesn't work with money. Well, Jeremy Grant would actually cost more money technically than this 2K would say. So yeah, because right now Grant is making $9 million. He's gonna make more than that. So yeah, I mean it works. But then you would have to throw in Bol.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that point, I guess you're giving up just a pick after that, or are you giving up Monte?
Let's do this. Let's save this for Wednesday because I think this is a great conversation. I'm going to reach out to our guy Jake Coyne, who we had on, who, if people don't remember, he was the guy who did the offseason preview for the Denver Nuggets, is really in depth when it comes to the numbers of the NBA and how that stuff works. I want to pick his brain on this type of trade, and maybe we could get Blackburn on as well, because we could talk draft with those guys. I know Ryan's broken down some players in the draft. We're just gonna have a Nuggets themed episode, and I think that would be great. Also, we have some really exciting news too. Should we share it now or should we wait?
We can wait.
Okay, well we'll share that on Wednesday. We could do that, but we have some really exciting news about the podcast and where it's going.
How much do you think Jeremy Grant's gonna make? Because that's another.
I would say anywhere from like 28 to 32.
What?
Yeah, probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well then I guess you won't really have to give up.
Maybe like 25. I don't know, 25, 28 to 32. I don't know, somewhere around there. I mean, listen, guys get overpaid all the time in the NBA. So depending on the team he goes to, I mean, he could get probably near a max level deal.
Yeah. Well then in that case you wouldn't have to give up as much as I was thinking money wise. So
we'll see. It'll be interesting, but we'll save this for Wednesday. We thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. For Brandon Stoll on the other side, I'm Stephen Priest. We'll catch you guys on Friday. No, excuse me, Wednesday. Have a good one. Cool. Yeah, I'll reach out to those guys.